Hi, everybody. My name is Andrea LaPlante. I'm so excited to be talking about Tower Gardens and whole food nutrition tonight. I'm a certified health coach with the Dr. Sears Wellness Institute, and I'm a national marketing director with this amazing company. My quick story is years and years ago, when my son was a little guy, he overdosed on isolated vitamin supplements. And it just took me to this place where I started researching, looking into our food supply. How can I support my family with whole food, not isolated vitamins that could cause harm? And I really started uncovering a lot of things. And one of those things I found was this whole food nutrition. It's like a farmer's market in a capsule, a salad bar in a capsule, and the way the plants are grown sustainably and ethically. And then we also have a tower garden to grow our own. So we've been adding this to our diet for the last 10 plus years, and it's been a game changer for our family. Even though we tried to do the right thing, we just couldn't get all those colors in every day. And the quality of the produce is just at a whole nother level, and it's already pre-digested, so it gets into your bloodstream, goes to work on healing, food for your cells, bioavailability, reducing inflammation, giving you that robust immune system, and growing your own plants year round. I live in New England, so I've got 2 tower gardens, and I'm growing all different types of greens and getting more plants and a variety into my family's diet. So Sarah, go ahead and unmute and just share what you love about this, and then I'll pull up the presentation to share even more about tower gardens.
Sure. So as you know, Andrea, and I also explained to Talia that I'm new to the Tower Gardens and Juice Plus. I've obviously heard of the company. Actually, my kid's pediatrician, before she moved, was involved with the company as well. So I've definitely have heard about it, heard great things. I saw you posting the Tower Gardens on Facebook, and I was like, oh my God, I need one of those. And I think that's when I commented on what are those? Because I was looking into hydroponics and all that at some point. And then when we actually chatted, I was immediately drawn to it because of a lot of reasons. The soil depletion that we are seeing over decades upon decades. The fact that I want to be self-sustainable. So if for some reason, I can't make it to the grocery store for whatever reason, or they're out of certain products, and also the fact of knowing where my food's coming from because of all the chemicals they spray on, all the pesticides, the chemicals they spray on food these days. It's hard to really know and trust where it's coming from. Even when it's labeled organic, I still kind of question it a little bit. So that's basically a lot of the reasons why I wanted to get a tower garden and have it be a part of my family. The kids are super excited about it, so I'm excited to put it together with them and to teach them about growing their own food and being self-sustainable and really appreciating where your food comes from. So that is why I partnered up and wanted to buy a tower garden.
Awesome. And I agree with you 100% on everything you said. And when I went down that rabbit hole and started seeing, reading about soil depletion, we've got about 50 plus years left before we use up all the topsoil. With those minerals are going to be gone. So this is a way to grow without even touching the soil. And I'll pull that up too. But there's so much that we can do sustainability wise with this. And even getting the nutrition from Juice Plus in your diet every day, knowing how those plants are grown so much differently from what we receive that's jet lagged. So Sarah, just let me know, can you see the presentation? I just want to make sure you see it.
I can, yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so I'm going to just make it a little bit bigger here. Okay, great. So this is Tim Blank. And he created the tower garden. And this is actually an aeroponic garden. So it uses air and water. And he's an individual who worked for Disney. He was hired at Epcot, and there's I don't know if you call it a ride, an adventure called The Land. So if you've been there, I don't know if you have or not, I actually get in a little boat and it takes you around all of these aeroponic gardens where they're growing all this produce. It's just unbelievable. Well, his dream was to provide this kind of produce for individuals all over the world. And people were coming up to him and saying, hey, how can I grow like this? Like, is there a system out there? What can I do to make this happen for my family? So he ended up leaving Disney and creating the Tower Garden, which is this aeroponic garden. You can see the one on the left is the home, and it has the wheels built in. It has a 13-gallon basin, has the grow lights, and the one on the right is called the Flex because it has a bigger basin, so it's more conducive to bringing outside and bringing in, but the lights work, the same exact lights go on both of them. And then for me, I have 2 Flex towers, and bought the little dolly with it so I can roll it around, and I have the lights on it, and I grow indoors year round. But Tim Blank, his dream was to get this sustainable growing system in the hands of everybody. And I'm just going to show you some pictures and what it's all about, but there's no dirt. It's actually 98% less water now. NASA did a study on it, and it's 98%. So I'll have to change that slide at some point. 90% less space, and it's 100% success. So you're growing a variety of plants, and because it's not using soil, you don't have to worry about soil contamination. You don't have to worry about depleting. You don't have to worry about pests. You don't have to worry about the watering. It's actually on a timer, and it's you plug it in, and the lights and the timer go on and off on their own. So I consider it like a plug and play. And this was done a few years ago. We actually need to update this too, just as organic produce has even increased in cost. But I remember buying a Tower Garden, and within the first 6 months, it paid for itself, just because I personally like to eat a lot of salads, and I put greens in my smoothie every single morning. And to go and buy a head of kale and use it for your smoothie, it's gone within 2 days. I like to put a lot in there. But this way, it's still alive and growing, and I can talk to you a little bit more about that too. But I love the fact that it leaves a smaller carbon footprint. And you won't believe this, but a half acre of Tower Gardens equates to 30 acres of land and produce.
Wow.
Which is amazing because it's using the vertical space that no one's touching. And, we breathe the air, but you're not using that space. So that's where the vertical piece comes in. Only 10% of the land and water of a traditional farming garden, and it recycles 100% of the nutrients in the water. So it's recycling, but you also because of that, it's in your house or you have it outside. You're not using contaminants. You don't have to worry about pesticides, things like that. It's basically tower to table. And you can just see this visual week 1 to week 3. It grows so much faster. And if you look at the picture on the right, it looks like a green sponge. That's actually rock wool. So it's made from volcanic ash. And what you do is, I've taken this into schools. I've got about 19 towers in my local community now. Kids are growing, they're planting seeds. I've had parents come up to me and say, thank you so much. It's the first time my child's ever eaten anything green. My child knows what bok choy is now. He calls it the spicy plant. But to have these kids be able to take the seeds and just pop them right in the rock wool, put a little vermiculite and water on, the seedlings pop up, and you put it right in your tower. So here are some images of what it looks like. You could order 1, you could order 3 together. It's on someone's deck here. And this is a great image of showing just around the globe what Tim Blank was trying to create. I know someone who was in New York City and put their tower in their closet. Space is limited in some apartments. This is on the balcony of a high rise. And they're growing, they have their garden right on their back porch. In terms of aesthetics, it's beautiful. This was in Better Homes and Gardens, just the way it looks. It actually sounds like a waterfall. So it kicks in and it's on a timer, and you hear that the water trickling down, and it gives you that soothing feel. This is AT&T Park in California, and it's a Major League Baseball stadium. And, when you think of any event that you go to, it's typically candy, hot dogs, burgers, fries, you name it, cheese dogs, not a lot of anti-inflammatory foods. But there was a Major League Baseball player named Hunter Pace, and he really wanted to get more clean food in and start spreading the word about fueling your athlete, right? So Tower Gardens have been brought in, and they're using that for the produce in salads and in the food there. the Green Bronx machine and Stephen Ritz. Stephen Ritz is the man in the back. He's a teacher and he has his cheese hat on, and he is one of the most amazing humans on the planet. And he's taken Tower Gardens and the Green Bronx machine around the world. There are towers in Dubai. He's met the Pope. He's been all over the world. And he basically took this rundown school in the Bronx. They had no access. There's no access to any produce. And he started growing with Tower Gardens. And now it's the world's first health and wellness center in the Bronx. And he's got kids riding bikes that are fueling the blenders, and they're using their complete to drink, and they're making their salads. And these kids have been to the White House, and what he's doing to grow young minds with food and towers is absolutely amazing. So this is just, older kids that are using the produce. They've been making pesto and selling it in their communities. I mean, you name it, he's working on it and trying to get more clean food into kids. So this was my son's class that we had got a Tower Garden into the school. So you can work with local communities if you like that idea. But these are the kids, you can see them eating off the tower. And one day we had the parents come in, and they, instead of using bread, they picked their greens and they wrapped their food inside the lettuce, and they ate that. And just knowing that they're growing this and they're so proud, and then they're all eating it because they grew it. And it's an unbelievable way to show kids how to grow, and to be able to plant from seed, and then they're taking these greens to the cafeteria. So they're actually part of the process. So when you think of schools, you've got technology, science, math, you're talking about nutrition, pH, you're talking about farming, you're talking about sustainability. It's just so amazing what you can do. This is a nursery school, so a lot of people like the idea of homeschooling right now. We have a free curriculum that is provided in a link that you can use with kids in whatever school they're in. And if you want to homeschool, you have access to that as well. Restaurants popping up in restaurants here. And I was actually at this restaurant in New York City called Bell Book and Candle, and all the Tower Gardens on the roof sustain the restaurant below. So you think about not having to get the distribution channel of trucks and all of that, the sustainability you're saving there. One of the things that absolutely blew me away about this was when we talked to the owner, and they said that it was bringing bees back to the city. So you've got all these bumblebees at the top of this, what would have been a barren rooftop. Now they have a Tower Garden farm. Bees are there. The greens are growing. They're bringing all this non-toxic produce down into the restaurant. They're not having to deal with the distribution channel. They're growing what they love and what their clients want to see. The other part of this, which is really cool, a side note, you can see there's like a layer of white on the top of the building. And what happened was someone wrote to the owner and said, "Thank you so much. Having those towers on the roof is helping with my electric bill." So it was helping to keep the building cooler by that as well. This is a Tower Garden farm in O'Hare Airport. I've actually been through O'Hare and stopped at the farm, and it's so ironic looking at the man looking out the window at the planes coming in, and typically that's where your produce is shipped from. It's a plane or a train or a truck. Well, you don't have to do that here. They're using all the produce to sustain all the restaurants inside O'Hare Airport. So there's no shipping, and they're growing it right here indoors year round. So that's pretty special. Also programs like assisted livings, and this is a veteran community where they're doing activities with the Tower Garden, growing their own food and using that for the vet program, or you can have it in senior centers and use it as an activity. People who may not be able to dig in the dirt, the elderly, anyone in a wheelchair, all of these things. This is one of my towers that I had, took a picture of. You can see outside the blinds, it was a huge snowstorm. Everything shut down. And you couldn't even get to the stores, but here I was, it was freezing blizzard, and I was growing my own greens inside, which just feels euphoric. You just feel like, I can't even explain it. It's like, oh my God, I'm growing my greens and we're having a blizzard outside. if you're on the beach and you live in a, another area where it's not conducive to growing, you still have access to growing. There's a microgreens extension kit if you love the idea of microgreens. And then this is just to give you a visual of taking it to a whole other level, feeding communities. There are farms, Tower Garden farms, community farms, and even commercial farms like this. So it's really taking off, a great way to grow. Everything but root vegetables on there. If you want to have just a selected, this one has cukes and tomatoes on it. If you love the idea of really, getting off the grid or, taking your food with you, there are Tower Gardens on boats. You can unpack it, put it in your RV and set it up. So basically it's made with food grade plastic. So it'll last about 20, 30 years. It has that double UV protective coating. Again, it has all the tools and supplies if you order it to get going. There's no soil. Your kids can put it together. My kids put it together years ago. The thing about that is you don't have to worry about if there's a drought that you're like a ground garden. You don't have to worry about testing the soil. You don't have to worry about pests coming and setting that up. You don't have to worry about, I know in New England, it's a very short growing season. So you're able to grow much faster. You can grow what you love. There's no weeding. It's more nutritious. So the thing about more nutritious is it's allowed to grow and it's not picked. It's not sitting in your fridge. How many times has it happened to you where you buy salad at the store in a bag, or if it's not in a bag and you pull it out, it's like slimy? Or you're worried about the recalls, like, oh no, is this listeria laden? And what's going on with these greens? Where did they come from? How many hands touched it? Is this organic? And you can't guarantee organic anymore. You absolutely can't. Things are shipped in the same bins as non-organic. They'll use blanket pesticides to put over both organic, non-organic. And you really don't know where it's coming from. So you're growing your own. It's alive until you eat it. It's not taking up space in the fridge. You don't have to worry about a distribution channel. And then this extension is Juice Plus, which really, when I started with this, I started with Juice Plus. The Tower Garden came later. But what I fell in love with was this. I saw this menu and I said, oh my God, I need to get this, because in New England, and what were my kids eating? They were eating carrots, pineapple maybe once a week, and oranges, peaches, things that are ripe when they're ripe, they were eating. I don't necessarily, we don't eat peaches in the winter typically. They're mealy or they're not ripe. So seasonal produce, and then they were eating the same things over and over. And I knew I wasn't getting the variety, but what I found out was this produce is allowed to grow and ripen on the vine. So when you get to the grocery store, you could pick an apple that's been sitting on a shelf for a year, or in the back, it's been sitting, they finally put it out. And why isn't it not decaying? Because it's been covered in pesticides and maybe added different things into it to keep it looking pretty on a shelf. These plants don't look pretty. They grow, they do what they need to do out, on the vine, they get ripe. So it's at that point where you can smell it, you can taste it, it's dripping, it's oozing, it's nutrient dense. And once they pick it, it's crushed whole. So you're eating the broccoli stem and the leaves of the broccoli. You're eating everything, the core. The only thing you're not getting in this is the peach pit, because that's not good for the human body. Everything else is crushed whole. Lemon peel with natural folate in it. Elderberry. A lot of people like to make elderberry in the winter, but it's like, why not have your elderberry year round and have that with 30 other plants that you can get in a synergy. And the reason this was created for someone who had cancer by an herbalist who studied the synergy of the best plants in the human body to help keep our cells nourished at a cellular level. So you have your fruit, vegetable, berry blend, and there's also a vegan omega, which I absolutely love if you're into sustainability and, saving the seas and not having to worry about contaminants in the ocean or microplastics, or saving the dolphins and the whales. What we found is a lot of fish oil goes rancid because they have to heat those capsules. They're very hard capsules and they have to heat them. And the intensity of the heat makes the oil inside go rancid, which is why it always comes, a lot of times, I won't say always, many times comes back on people, and you can feel it and taste that rancid that taste. With this, again, the produce is crushed whole, and it's cold pressed seeds and berries. And the capsule has a little nitrogen bubble in it to prevent overheating and sealing the vegan capsule. So you know what you're getting in your body, and the omegas, brain health, heart health, skin health. But what I love about the omegas, it's just like an anti-inflammatory in a capsule. I mean, every single organ of your body needs omegas. You cannot make it yourself. You have to get it from an outside source. And these are amazing. So it's food. It's not a multivitamin. So that's where I came to this. There's no child warning label. There's no safety lock on it. You can eat as many as you want. You may have loose stool, but you're not going to overdose. You're eating beets, cabbage, kale, spinach. I love that it's made with non-GMO ingredients, vegan, kosher, gluten, dairy free. And what really sold me too is the NSF certification. So I knew that once it was crushed whole, the sugar in the water is dehydrated from it, and it was in a powder form. A third party comes in and tests it for herbicides, pesticides, molds, mildews, heavy metals. And that's incredible, because so many things, there are banned substances out there. You pull something off a shelf and it harms you, they'll take it off the shelf for maybe a week or two, rewrap it with a different label, put it right back on. So especially if you have kids that, they're training, they want to get to a high level in athletics, you want to make sure that there are no banned substances. And this is safe for a 6-month-old baby all the way up to elderly in a feeding tube, the highest Olympic athlete. It's food, and it's been tested for contaminants. So even if you try and do the best you can and buy organic, you can't guarantee that. And the other piece of this is that this is the most researched nutritional product in the world. You can ask Siri on your smartphone and she'll answer the question for you. But basically what that means is once this produce gets into your bloodstream, it's bioavailable. It helps support all of the organs, and it helps reduce inflammation and protect oxidative stress. And we can get you more information on the research if you want that, but that's really what we've put our intent into, is all the research. We're very proud of that. So basically it's the future of growing. You grow what you love. You're able to control what you love. Oh, here's the updated slide. 98% less water that NASA studied, 90% less space, 30% more yield, 3 times faster, safe and nutritious. And there are 2 options. And we have research on the tower garden as well, compared to soil gardens. So let me just make sure. Okay, that's the end here. So I'll stop the share. And I'm just so happy that we had a chance to gather this way. And I will stop the recording as well. If anybody has any questions, just reach out to Sarah. I'm happy to do another one and answer questions and do 3-way calls. I'll just stop the recording, and I hope everybody has a great night.